Fans, a promising young player may be packing his bags, traded for pennies, while a legendary veteran could wear the Houston jersey to end his career where it all began. Two opposing moves are being discussed behind the scenes, a quiet farewell and a historically significant arrival, both with the potential to deeply affect the roster. Welcome! Show your support for the Texans by reaching 100 likes on today's video. The name circulating behind the scenes as a potential trade piece for the Texans is John Metchie III, a wide receiver drafted in the second round of 2022 who has so far faced a journey marked by obstacles both on and off the field. After losing his rookie season to leukemia, Metchie has struggled to establish himself on the Houston roster, and now with reinforcements arriving at the position, his chances of staying seem slimmer than ever. According to Corey Woodruff from For the Win, the Texans are reportedly willing to trade Metchie to the Cincinnati Bengals for a sixth-round pick. The justification? An increasingly competitive receiver room, with additions like Christian Kirk, Justin Watson, and Braxton Berrios, along with rookies Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. The assessment is clear. Despite his talent, Metchie doesn't have a guaranteed spot, and a trade could give the former Alabama player a chance to start anew. However, the numbers do not support his case. In 2 seasons, Metchie has accumulated just 40 receptions for 412 yards and 1 touchdown. That's not much for someone who came in with star college status. But it's also important to remember that the player faced challenges that few encounter early in their careers. Coming back from cancer treatment while also dealing with the demands of the NFL is a delicate scenario that requires time and support, something the Texans seem unwilling to provide. The trade with the Bengals does make technical sense. After Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, the depth chart in Cincinnati is filled with questions. Metchie could compete for the WR4 spot with a real chance to gain playing time, especially if injuries affect the starters. For Houston, it would be a way to get some minimal compensation before cutting him for nothing. But is it really advantageous to give up on a young talent for a late-round pick? The big question here is the type of decision this move represents. Are the Texans willing to end a project in transition simply because they now have more experienced names on the roster? Metchie is only 24 years old, has a low cost, and can still develop, especially if he gains a more defined role. The risk of seeing him flourish on another team, as has happened with many young WRs underutilized in recent years, is real. Moreover, what have the Texans gained so far from the veterans they've brought in? Christian Kirk is efficient, but he has never been a star. Berrios and Watson are rotational pieces. The rookies still need to adapt. Amid all this, Metchie is one of the few who knows the offensive system, has chemistry with C.J. Stroud, and can serve as an outlet in slot situations. Removing him from the equation so soon could prove to be a hasty mistake. It's important to remember, Metchie is the type of player who needs continuity, not urgency. His development was interrupted by reasons beyond the realm of sports logic. If the Texans are impatient now, they risk repeating the same mistake they made with names like Kike Kute and Will Fuller, talents that were underestimated at the peak of their physical and technical development. If the Texans' goal is to build a versatile, deep, and dangerous offense, letting go of Metchie at this moment seems contradictory. The season is long, injuries happen, and a well-built receiver unit needs more than just 3 reliable names. Cutting him prematurely might solve a space issue today, but it could create a technical gap tomorrow. And while Metchie might leave quietly, another name, much louder, could arrive to completely shake up the locker room. Behind the scenes, the name gaining traction as a possible addition to the Texans is simply Von Miller. The legendary pass rusher, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, and 8-time Pro Bowler may be negotiating his final contract in the NFL. And according to CBS sports analyst John Breach, Houston is one of the favorites to seal this final chapter in the veteran's career. The connection between Miller and Texas is strong. He was born and raised in the state, is a local hero in College Station, and after stints in Denver, Los Angeles, and Buffalo, he could end his career where it all began. But this potential signing isn't just about symbolism. Even at 36 years old, Miller showed productivity in 2024, with 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and 8 QB hits in Buffalo. He may not be the nightmare he once was, but he remains an impactful player in key situations. The idea of bringing him to Houston makes sense for several reasons. First, the team already has 2 heavyweight names on the front, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. Adding Miller to this rotation would be a luxury, allowing him to enter the field only in specific downs, on 3rd down, in red zone situations, or exotic blitzes. The tactical gain would be significant, and the experience he would bring to the locker room could accelerate Anderson's development, still in his 2nd year in the league. Furthermore, the Texans have cap flexibility to absorb a short-term contract without jeopardizing the franchise's financial future. And in a team that is knocking on the playoff door, bringing in a player used to making decisions in January could be the difference between a promising campaign and a historic season. However, the move also raises questions. The Von Miller of 2025 is a much more limited version of what we saw in Denver. His last 2 seasons have been marked by injuries and reduced snaps. Is the cost-benefit still worthwhile? And more, is the Texans' young and cohesive locker room prepared to handle the arrival of a veteran of Miller's stature, with all the media attention he brings? Another point of reflection is the balance of roles. With Hunter and Anderson taking on the primary roles in the pass rush, Miller's addition cannot stifle the natural development of these athletes. He needs to be a complement, not an obstacle, and the coaching staff must be clear about the role the veteran will have, something that hasn't always happened in his last years in Buffalo. But the most important factor is timing. The Texans are on an upward trajectory. They've won 10 games for 2 consecutive years, clinched the AFC South, and shown they can compete with any team in the league. What's missing? Depth, experience, and that championship pedigree that makes a difference in January. Von Miller can deliver that. And if he accepts a reduced role, Houston may be the ideal place to close his career with dignity, and perhaps another ring. The fan base seems excited yet cautious. The name Von Miller still carries weight, but there is fear that he may be more name than production. Even so, for a franchise looking to elevate its competitiveness and respect, bringing in one of the greatest defenders of the last decade could be the kind of move that changes the culture, just like it did with DeMeco Ryans as head coach in 2023. While considering trading John Mechie III for a 6th-round pick, the Texans are contemplating signing one of the biggest names in the NFL over the last few decades. The contrast between the 2 situations is revealing. On one hand, impatience with a young player still adapting. On the other, confidence in a declining veteran. The balance between present and future needs to be better managed by the front office, or the team may end up wasting important assets in both directions. And you, Texans fan, do you think it's worth trading Mechie now, or would you prefer to see him gain another year in the system? And Von Miller, a valuable addition or an unnecessary risk? Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more explosive analyses straight from Houston.